Hello and welcome. I'm the Restless Kaiser.
And I'm Woolly Mike, but together we are Modelling for Advantage. Fortress Europe.
Fortress Europe indeed. Flames of War version 3.
Yep.
Still new starter set. What we're going to do is we're going to, among other things, talk about how it compares to Hit the Beach, which was the previous starter set. And for those of you that want it, the Hit the Beach, I think, is still available, but I think it's going out of production. I don't know for sure, but I think so. Do you want to tell them what comes in the box then, Mike?
So, for the Americans, 2 M20 Scout cars, 2 M18 Tank Destroyer, platoon, so that's 4 M18 Hellcats. Love a Hellcat.
Love a Hellcat.
A support platoon of 3 M4 Sherman 76mm tanks, and a platoon of parachute rifle infantry. On the other side, we have a Panzer Grenadier HQ, 2 Panzer Grenadier platoons, 2 7.5cm guns, and your favourite,
everybody's favourite,
2 Tigers.
Couple of Tigers.
Rulebook, dice, and
all the
cards.
bits you need to play. All right, let's tear this open. Have a look. So this is the they do 2 different types of sort of starter boxes. One is the army deal. They normally come in for about £100, and they are single faction. Depending on your faction, they're often very close to being a full list. Then they do these 2-player starter sets, and this is intended to be their introductory one. So the smorgasbord look. Which they do. This I think might be 60, but it might be a little bit less. From a third party, you're definitely going to get it for £50 or less. So we're going to sort this stuff out into piles, and we'll be right back. So the first part, we're going to go through the contents of the box, and then later we will compare it with the other one. We used the bits of paper first, so you get a nice black and white, failing to open it. Destruction sheet telling you how to build things. Exploded diagrams, the 2 different sides for the 2 different forces. I've built from this, it's really good, right down to telling you exactly which guys go on which base to represent the actual squad composition that these guys had. So the US paras, it's normally 3 bases representing the squad, whereas the Germans it's usually only 2, because the Americans had bigger squads. Again, showing you exactly, and not like which type, but exactly which piece. It's a silhouette, and you make your army like this, and the guys will all be different.
Just as an aside, I'm thinking that diagram for the building the 75 looks a lot more detailed than we've had in the past. So it's quite...
the actual exploding diagram of the 75mm. You might be right. I'm not sure. Then you also get this getting started. This quick start thing, so if you just put the tanks on the table and then follow these rules, you will find out how the core rules work. You will quickly need to move to the book, but it'll get you started with the basic concepts. I like the fact that they include that. And then we get this little baggie, which contains the 2019 version of the rulebook, which is the current version at time of release. This is a full colour cut down version of the rulebook, literally page by page. It's just smaller. If you play Flames of War and you buy their starter sets, you can end up with millions of these, which is brilliant because you just give them to a mate. Yeah. There you go, mate. You have one of those.
I'll have one of those.
I've got about 10 of them because we've reviewed so many of their products.
I keep giving them, every time I see somebody talk about it, I give one away, and then I seem to get another one. So
and it's a full unabridged rulebook. Yeah. You do need good eyesight to read it, though. The other thing that was in that baggie was the unit cards. Now, we'll talk about the unit cards as we talk about the individual units, because we'll talk a little bit about its performance in game probably while we're there. And then the last of the extra bits is the dice. It gives you grey and green, 5 of each, little d6s. These Battlefront dice, they're like 11, 12mm rather than 14 or 16, but they've got a respectable weight to them. They're okay dice, and it's the same colours, the same shades of the same colours they've used in their other sets. So these may well go with.
And the green ones roll far better.
Our experience is the green ones do roll a bit better. That does seem to be true. So it's a nice inclusion because this is a starter set, right?
It is.
This is literally it says on the back, the complete World War II starter set. So Fortress Europe, it's their late war setting.
It is.
Which is, and 44, it's late 44 because things like Hellcats are actually quite late into that. You've got not the T-36, what's the Wolverine? M10.
The M10.
You have an M10, which is like an unarmoured Sherman hull with a...
It is, yeah.
Yeah, or Lee or something.
76
with
gun.
a 76mm gun on it. Whereas the Hellcat is a purpose-built one, isn't it?
Yeah, the running gear of the M10 was M3, but they built a new shell on it. So it's got slab-sided.
M3 is the Lee Grant?
The Lee Grant, yeah.
Right, yeah. And it is very similar lower hull shape to those two. So by putting it that really late war, it gives you access to all the toys, which is why, like in 1944, there are definitely Tigers, definitely those things. So this is late Normandy, Valais Gap, that kind of era, moving into maybe even into Bulge. All right.
So where do you want to go then, sir?
Do you want to start with the Yankee Doodle Dandies?
Yankee Doodles. We love a bit of Yankee Doodle.
All right, we'll start with the Americans. So this is really interesting to begin with, is the formation. If you've not played Flames of War before, is as well as your army book sort of being a codex, you actually pick a formation and that's going to limit what things are available to you. And it's really an integral part of your force's integrity. There's only certain core units that are available to you. And when you run out of core units, the other units don't count. Your force cohesion breaks down. And so this is an interesting one because what you're actually getting here is an M18 tank destroyer armoured company. And its headquarters is a pair of M20 scout cars.
Yep.
So the M20 sprue, this is quite a new sprue, relatively speaking. 2019? I guess not new anymore.
Yep.
It's 6 years old. This you can build as an M8 Greyhound or an M20 Scout Car, I think it's called.
Yeah.
M20 Scout Car. The player in you is going to look at this sprue and think the Greyhound is so much better. The Greyhound's got a light anti-tank gun in the turret. The M20 has just got a 50 cal in like a ring mount.
Yeah, so you've got two different upper hulls.
Yeah. And you're using the one with the big square hole in it.
That's correct.
As opposed to the one that takes a turret mount. It may be possible that you can magnetise these, I'm not sure. There's no option in this list to take it as an M8, so just build it as the M20. And it is used as a HQ security vehicle. That's kind of its role. What I like about this as a headquarters is the other guy doesn't want to waste shots on it. Because it doesn't do anything with a single heavy machine gun. It can't damage vehicles, and with one machine gun, infantry is not that vulnerable to it either, to be honest. Maybe certain soft skins might be at risk from it. And you get a finite number of shots with your tanks and your proper guns, and you're just not going to want to shoot it, I don't think. Model-wise, I've built a couple of these. It's because it's small, there's a little bit involved. It's not nearly as complicated as the Jeeps. It does go together very well, because although you've got to build the sides into it, you start with a canoe. You start with, like a lot of their vehicles, you start with this canoe, and what that means is your road wheels, which are in line with this piece here, you don't have to mess about with them. There's no axles here, there's no chance, you don't have like three wheels pointing in slightly different directions. It goes on really clean, so you just glue these other pieces to this central canoe.
The key point on the canoe, there is a massive, great big rhomboid that acts as the key to the inside. To
where you fit the inside here. Yeah. There's like a big lug on it, isn't it? Which the side plates slot into. I had zero problem with this kit. It was really good. Sometimes there is a risk where you have where you just have a sheet for the upper hull like you have here, that you might see some gaps emerging at the side. I didn't with this one, despite its shape, and I built a few of them. If that looks like it's happening to you when you're building yours, you just peg it. or put a rubber band around it. Rubber band's probably safe on this because there's nothing it would move out of shape. I would go with a couple of rubber bands front and back. If you're seeing sort of peel away at those joins, which might happen at certain temperatures, but I didn't have that happen to me. But I have had it happen with vehicles with a similar build.
These kits are that simple. You spend more time cutting them off the sprue and trimming them than you do actually putting the pieces together.
Yes, it's a really good inclusion in that one. So some of their kits are quite involved. The T34 is a very complicated kit, for example, because of the different mud skirts and things it has over the years. This is one of their really simple ones, and therefore a fantastic inclusion.
50 cals are fragile, but they give you 2 on the sprue.
Yes, another thing I'm really pleased that Battlefront do, when they recognise that there's issues potentially with this, they allow you to make a mistake, and between the two of them, you've got 4, of which you only need 2. So you know how it breakage. I found with this, I didn't have a problem getting them out, but I would usually cut this thinner end. I would clip it here. If you find that the first one breaks, it means the sprue's under quite a bit of tension. Make a cut here with a pair of clippers, and it'll just give it a little bit of movement. But I didn't have a problem, but you might. So that's one of the solutions. M20 as a vehicle. So as a HQ, it costs 2 points. And sometimes with the HQs, you've got an expensive vehicle as a company leader, and you need to fight with it. This you absolutely do not need to fight with. And it's 2 vehicles, so they've got to get 2 successful hits on to knock it out. So I actually think it's a good HQ choice. I like when the company HQs are cheap and junk, because you just hide them.
Yeah, when my paras take cover, this is in the building. This is going to be parked behind the building, waiting for them. Yeah,
absolutely, parked right behind the building. So that's those. In this particular formation, the only units you can take in it are tank destroyer platoons, which is the Hellcats, and more M20s, which are not in this box. When in terms of expandability, buying a second box would expand directly on this formation. So that's that. Next vehicle, M18 Hellcat. I still think of this as a new one, even though it's 2021. I'm just getting old. The years are going by. Hellcat then, as a vehicle. You built some of these, Mike?
I've got several of these. Used them in both the Flames of War and in Clash of Steel.
Oh yes, these are in Clash of Steel as well, aren't they? Because it's a late war vehicle. Now, again, it follows that really simple Battlefront design, where you have this canoe that you fit them in. Heavy keying on the side. The tracks and running gear, there's 3 keying points on one side and 2 on the other, so you can't get the running gear the wrong way around. The road wheels, the tracks, what I'm calling the running gear, it's all in a single piece, and the sprue gates are incredibly thin, which means you shouldn't get much left behind. Like you just saw there, I can actually just push it straight out. I wouldn't encourage you to do that, because then you do end up with a little bit of cleanup to do, because it's got a little bit of it on. But what it means is there isn't, they're on the inside, and so that means if you do have to cut them out of here and you clip a bit of the trackpad or something, you can't see it on the finished model because it's inside. It's behind, and like I said before, I wonder if I can push this canoe out and show you. Whoop, there we go. Obviously, you will use clippers and so forth, but it just fits in there perfectly. So you can't get it in the wrong place, and I just love that about them. It's one of the things that makes them really easy. And in terms of number of pieces, what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces for the hull, and then
now the turrets.
The turrets.
This is where we get to an issue. We've got a nice large main turret, open topped, with the breech all moulded in,
and the open fighting compartment here.
Up here we've got some bustle rack.
Yes.
Which are very fiddly and easily damaged if you're not careful.
Right.
And getting them aligned. And then the top of the turret has actually got a bar. So your turret ring...
Here?
No, where'd you put there? So you've got a back plate, the commander's ring, and then there's like a roll bar.
Yeah, almost like a roll cage in a rally car or something.
So again, that's quite a difficult thing to fit in to it with the big fiddly fingers, you know.
Yes. It's not. I would add. It's not that it's difficult to fit. It's that in terms of like the pieces don't fit.
Yeah.
It's that it's a small piece on a small model for an old man with fading eyesight and so forth. It's the fiddly nature of it being small rather than that it's poorly moulded or the wrong shape or anything.
So you just need a bit of care with the turret.
Yeah.
It's got a whole row of accessories, tarpaulins,
stowage and stuff. Yeah.
So makes a lovely kit.
And then the mantlet going on the front there, there's a very solid keying point there, and then you take your gun barrel from over here, and there are two different ones, which presumably an earlier and a later version.
Yeah, the later one's going to be the muzzle brake.
The muzzle brake will be the later one, which again just slot in there. So you can't make both the with and without muzzle brake. You're going to have to make a choice there. Otherwise, they need to give you a whole other turret for the sake of it.
So we've got the 76 gun on this.
Yes. So the M18 Hellcat. So she has the tank unit, seek, strike and destroy, and battle tank rules. So the battle tank rules affect the reserves. I'm not going to go into that because it's a bit wrong. Seek, strike and destroy. Teams may attempt to shoot and scoop in movement order after succeeding in a blitz move. Seek, strike and destroy is really useful for tank destroyers because this thing has no armor, which we'll get to in a minute. It normally in Flames of War you can make a single movement order, and the blitz order allows you to make a pre-move move and not count as having moved. And it's I think a 4-inch move if you make a quality check. And the shoot and scoot is a post move and a post shoot move, which puts you back in cover. Moves you back. Yeah. So you can have this thing hiding behind a building, and with a little bit of luck, you pass both of these rolls, you come out, take a shot, and then go back behind, and not exposing yourself. It's not as dangerous as it seems because you'll probably fail one or both of those rolls, but you have the option to try it, and it can be quite situationally useful, particularly when we look at the stats, because this vehicle, armor rating, it has a front armor of 2, which I don't think is better than the scout car. No, the scout car had a front armor of 2. It's got a front armor of 2, side and rear of 1, and a top of 0, which is not surprising. Its skill ratings are standard. It's confident, trained, and careful. It's all 4s, as the American Army is pretty organised now. None of that early days green stuff that you have to worry about. Tactical move is 12, which is really solid. Reflecting, I think normally the tactical move is capped at 10 for almost all vehicles, but the Hellcat is a famously fast vehicle, and so they're letting you make that 12-inch tactical move, and it's got a 30-inch road move, which for a tank is fantastic. But the gun, the 76mm gun, it's the same 76mm gun on the other vehicles, giving that extra punch. 36-inch range, 2 and 1 halted and moving rate of fire. Anti-tank 12. 3 up firepower, no HE.
Yeah.
I find the no HE rule a bit weird. Did they not make HE rounds for the 76?
It's something to do with the nature of the shell, if I remember. The way the shell goes into the barrel, they didn't make an HE shell.
Right. It's not very good. I remember on the Shermans they said the 75 had a better HE shell.
Yeah.
So maybe the no HE might not mean it's got no HE, it just has the no HE rule, meaning it's got an inferior HE round, perhaps, which just means you're worse at shooting infantry and guns. And it definitely, the Shermans, I remember reading, a lot of them didn't like the 76 because the HE shell was no good.
Yeah, they were the less flexibility.
Yeah.
It's a fast manoeuvrable tank. It can be quite a bit of a suicide.
Yeah.
But in this game, we're facing 2 Tigers and 2 artillery pieces. So we're going to be looking to get round the side and...
Yeah. And having it as two vehicle platoons in this context, because of the way morale works, you normally wouldn't want a 2 vehicle platoon, because when you lose one, the other one's going to have morale problems immediately. But giving you 2 means you can send them in different directions, because I think when we come to look at the Tiger, they probably can't take it out from the front.
Yeah.
They're going to have to hit it in the side. Because there's no armour, it's also a good option against Tiger, because a Sherman would cost more points and not have a better gun.
Yes.
and given that you need to get around the sides, and same with the 76mm anti-tank gun, what's going to keep this alive is A, the shoot and scoot stuff, but B, just the Germans are not putting out enough shots. You've got more vehicles than they've got shots.
Yeah. If you're crazy enough to leave it static, then we've got 8 shots coming out of this units.
If they get their halted rate of fire.
Yes.
They get 8 shots. But if you pass the blitz move, you moved a bit and got to shoot. And with a 36-inch range, it can shoot across the table.
Yep.
For much of the table, anyway.
And our old favourite,
the M4A1 Sherman 2017. This kit, I don't know whether it was new for Hit the Beach, which we talked about before, and we'll talk about later, but it was certainly around that time. It is one of the best tank kits I've ever built. I've built a lot of these. You've built like 50 of them or something.
I've got around 50 for different variants.
Different eras and different painting schemes and so forth. This is like an 8-10 piece kit. It's so well engineered. It's put together. Like the Hellcat that we showed you, how the canoe and so forth. Same kind of concept. The only thing about this that's a bit more involved is probably the skirts.
If you use them.
The skirts are not widely used anywhere except in the desert, and by the Americans, again, not widely used in the desert either. This M4A1 was in North Africa and Italy, as well as Europe. So you can choose to put the skirts on, but they don't need them if you find it difficult. Now the skirts, it's like a bracket that fits on the outside. It's not hugely complicated, but again, it's a little bit fiddly, but it's still like a lot of their stuff. There's a line in here. It does actually key into the joining point of the hull here. It does fit quite well.
What I've always found though is if the ones I put them on, so the desert ones, they'll either slightly fold off at the back or the front. The middle stays stuck, but there's always a slight bow in it, either the front or the back.
I think you're too ham-fisted, Mike. Now, when you're building American ones, there are some things to know about this kit. We've got 2 transmission covers. Oh, not there and there. There and there. This 3-part transmission cover here is only used by British vehicles, or pretty much only used. It's the British said, we want you to change it to do this. I think it's because this transmission cover is a single piece of cast metal that's about 3 inches thick, which means if a guy takes it off, it just thunks onto the ground and ain't going back. Whereas I think the other one can be dismantled by a team of engineers. This one, you need a garage to put it back. You need a crane. You need a crane to get it back in place.
The British one will come into 3 pieces.
Yes, that's what these lines are, in 3 pieces. I think you may find some Americans with that, just because they were made in American and Canadian factories. But pretty much that was the smooth cast is the one. But if you like this one, you can just know that it's not normal for an American one. And there'll be grognards out there saying absolutely no 76mm Shermans have got that 3-part cover. I don't know. But it's fundamentally British, this one. And the smooth one is normally American.
So this is the 75 Sherman?
Yes. So you can build it as either or, but the 76mm Sherman, you're going to use these parts instead. It did show you on the instructions, I think, which to use, but it may not be clear because it's not showing you the options. So you're not using the turret and upper hull from here because it looks different on the 76. The turret's a very different shape. It's got the bustle is kind of built into the turret rather than a deeper bustle anyway. Because presumably the gun recoils back further and they need more room.
Breach on the 76.
Also,
better engine. So if you look at the difference between the 2 red engine decks, there were some changes to the engine.
Were there?
So there is very slightly different.
It's the forward hatches that are the real difference. So I think this M4A1 is like one of the first iterations, and the hatches are kind of just in a centerline position, whereas these ones have been adapted. And these ones are coming late, based upon crew experiences and so forth.
They're bigger, yes.
Yeah. They're bigger hatches. They're at a different angle for the bow machine gunner and the driver to get out of.
And it's the same with the turret. There's two hatches, so the loader
has got a hatch.
Has a hatch now.
Yes. Yeah. On the different sides of the gun. So the 76mm Sherman, lovely kit.
But what it does allow you to do is you can have the later hull with the 75 because you can build both turrets.
Yes.
Because everything's there.
Yes.
But
and so if you want to use it for both, build the later hull. Because the 75s will have this hull so this is the M4A1, but there are other numbers that come after that, which there's E numbers, right?
Yes.
Stay away from E numbers in your food. But in American tanks, they're like iterations of, and so this has got those later adaptions. So yeah, use this upgrade sprue for your upper hull. You can then completely build both turrets, I think.
Yes.
Yes, you can, and swap them out. Magic.
So it gives you plenty of versatility in your army. Stat card.
Stat card for the Sherman is probably very similar. Now, it has actually given you both cards.
Oh, interesting.
Although, I think it's expecting you to build the 76s. It has actually given you both cards. And it's given you the cards for them as veterans. So what veterans do, when we talk about it, I mentioned the skills were 4 up for motivation, hit on number, and skill. But these veterans have got improved skills. So their tactics rating is 3+. So their chance of doing things like a blitz move is on a 3 rather than on a 4. They've got smoke, stabilizer, and self-defense AA. Because the shooting, so Shermans are built with stabilizers. They've got gyro stabilized guns for shooting on the move. In different armored divisions, they took different approaches to this. Some of them said it's a piece of junk that's really complicated and they just didn't use it. They would fire largely from halted position or not expected to hit anything, much like most other armies did. Some of the armored divisions really trained hard with it and they thought it was brilliant. The way the stabilizer works in game is a blessing and a curse for the Americans. The blessing is it sustains its rate of fire when moving. It's got a rate of fire. Everybody else loses rate of fire by moving pretty much universally. It doesn't. It can take 2 shots halted and 2 shots moving. However, its hit is one worse. Its chance to hit. And on a D6 system, that often pushes you off the table. So it's good for shooting against things that are easy to hit and not for things that are hard to hit.
Yeah, in this case, we're chasing tigers, so we're going to be probably distracting them with the Hellcats and allowing these to manoeuvre into position and fire their 2 shots, or we're blitzing them.
No, you're blitzing them around. Yeah. So the Sherman gets a tactical move of 10 inches and crosses on the 3, the normal Sherman. But the gun, so the standard 75mm gun, so the 2 rate of fire we mentioned, anti-tank power 10 compared to 12 for the 76. And that might not sound like a lot, but the way armor versus firepower versus armor works is the defender gets their armor rating plus their plus a dice, and the anti-tank value has to be higher than that, or equal or higher. Equal is a glance, higher is not a glance. So 2 firepower difference can be critical. And firepower 10, it's basically 50-50 to penetrate a Sherman with a firepower 10, whereas firepower 12 penetrates a Sherman on a 2. Yeah. On a D6. So it's actually a huge difference. Because a Sherman has got front armour of 6. And that's your basic Sherman. 76, the later one,
7,
is up to 7. Which again, for most sort of 75mm guns are going to have about 10 anti-tank. That's a big deal. That's going to shift that column quite significantly. Front armour 7. It's also got protected ammo, so that's the wet storage, and it's got the tactics skill. And now the points difference, however, is 28 points for 5 or 16 points for 3 versus 13 points for 3, which is significant. They're a point each more, at least. Point and a bit when you look at the higher numbers. And they're both veterans. Given the fact that they have to fight Tiger, then they should shoot in the side. I don't know how much better this is than that. The extra point of armour probably doesn't matter. We'll look in a minute. Yeah. Probably doesn't matter. But 741 as opposed to 641. It will matter against the Pak 40s.
Yes.
It will matter against the Paks, the 75mm guns. And this gun has again got the stabiliser, but the difference being anti-tank is 12 and the range is 36 rather than 72. You want to take this in this set, you want to take the 76mm gun, because the only anti-tank you're interested in is Tiger, and Tiger you're going to need all the firepower you can get.
But what it does mean is, in terms of the battle in this box, I've got 10 shots per round.
Potentially.
Potentially up to 14 if the Hellcats stay still. So 3 Shermans, which gives me 6 shots, 4 Hellcats, 4 shots. Hellcats stay still, another 14 shots.
14 shots.
In the round.
In the round.
But we've got.
But if they can't penetrate the armour, they don't do anything.
But that's why we'll fire and manoeuvre. So
we'll fire and manoeuvre. We'll talk about the infantry at the end. I think we'll switch over to the German vehicles in this vehicle section, because the infantry's on an interesting mixed sprue, which we'll talk about. Yeah. The Germans get 1 vehicle.
Yeah, and 1 gun.
And 1 gun.
But it's a beauty. It is the Tiger. Tiger production has ceased in 1944. That's just why there's only about 1,000 odd Tigers ever built, is because early to mid 44, Tiger production has ceased entirely in favour of King Tiger or Tiger II, because already they're finding that certain Soviet weapon systems and certainly the British 17-pounder can already penetrate Tiger from the front. The instruction manual for Tiger crews was that they should angle their tank in action, which tells you that the front armour ain't strong enough anymore, so they were already building something bigger. However, there are no 17-pounders in this list. Yeah. So that's not particularly a problem. It is a beast of a tank. I feel like a Sherman tank kind of looks like a tank. Yeah. But a Tiger tank looks like a bestial tank. You know, if you kind of get a kid to draw one, would they draw a Tiger or would they draw a Sherman? I think they'd probably draw a Sherman, unless they'd seen a Tiger. Yeah. All right. This is an older kit. 2016.
This is 2016. It's one of their earlier plastic kits. This is probably built in a slide mode, because you'll see there's tabs at the bottom that say common and late. Yeah. And then there's a cut-off point here. I think that there's a whole other set. If you get an early one, like a 1943 Tiger, there's different components with desert filters and things like that on. So there are slight differences between which version you get. This later version, for example, it's got Zimmerit. Yeah. This is like a Normandy pattern Tiger. Yeah, so Zimmerit is what this textured surface on some of the surfaces of the vehicle are. And it's like an anti-magnetic paste.
It's like a clay.
Yeah. Well, it's applied as a paste and it dries like plaster or like a baked clay or something. Yeah. And it was to deal with magnetic mines, which I don't think turn out to be that big of a problem for them in the end. So they kind of stop applying it. I think that's because their battles are mostly defensive from 1944, and you're not going to run into magnetic mines in your own area.
If I'm running up to a tank to put a magnetic mine on, I'd probably put it on the running gear.
You put it on the running gear rather than on the hull. Well, the hull's a nice big section that it'll stick to, though, won't it? This is definitely the most complicated of the kits to build, because the way this works, although it's still got a canoe, like you've seen for the other version, the other vehicles that we've looked at, and so your wheels and your running gear will connect nicely to that, and it'll all be in line and the right way around. Because of the straight-sided nature of Tiger, you need to build a box out of these other components with a lid. So you are going to have 5 pieces kind of loose. That will sit perfectly on the canoe, but you do have to assemble that box. If you like to use super glue, that's up to you, but this is definitely one for me. One of the many reasons why I use plastic glue is you've got that movement after the fact. Because those 5 pieces, the 4 sides and the lid, all need to line up perfectly before it dries. I had no problems with it, but it was a bit more involved. The alignment of the upper plate, once you've got that on, again, it does just slot over the top of the lower hull. It does fit in very well, but let it fully dry before you put that in.
But even when you're building the top box, there's keying the front, the back, and that, so it does form a solid square.
Absolutely.
That then locks in.
Yeah, definitely. It's not fiddly or anything like that. The fiddliest part of this is the bow machine gun. Like a lot of the German tanks, they have quite a strong bow machine gun. They give you 2, but I think, if memory serves, one has Zimmerit and one doesn't, but I might be wrong, because there's this like ball mount in the hull, in the machine gunner's position, that it sticks out of. It was the case with the Panther.
It's difficult, so difficult.
It'd be very difficult to tell the difference anyway. But fortunately on this kit, the machine gun, it's not actually connected at both ends. It's only connected at one end, which means you don't have that
double
pressure problem, because this is very thin piece. I think it's on the Panther kit. These are very likely to break when you get them out.
The other side of the coin is you've got to really sort of like put your fingers over them, then clip. Because if you do it wrong, they go,
they'll disappear.
Yeah.
They'll ping out. They won't be broken, but they will be gone. Yes. For those of you that know, I don't know, there is something about Tiger and a bucket, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
There was somebody told me this once, and I've forgotten. You do get a bucket. I believe it's connected to a film in some way, having a bucket on a Tiger. I'm not sure. A more complicated kit to build than the others. Still like 20 pieces rather than 40 or 50, but a little bit more involved. Keying is good to get everything in line. It's just the moving parts.
2 different commanders, cupolas.
Yes. Again, so there'll be different versions earlier and later. Yeah. I honestly don't know which is which, I'm afraid. The fact that they're on the common sprue suggests to me that they were used both.
Yeah. Again, we've got 2 different side skirts.
One with Zimmerit.
And one's normal, and one's actually it's the battle damage one.
Oh, we're talking about the skirts. Sorry, I was on the side plates. The skirts here. Yeah, these are literally the bazooka skirts. These are not armour bazooka skirts. It is like, I don't know whether it's probably not aluminium because it's expensive, but it's just a sheet of. And the purpose of bazooka skirts is to intercept an incoming round. In the case of these, it was otherwise hit the wheels, the running gear, and to cause the shape charge to detonate before it's contacted the main body of the vehicle.
Yeah.
They're actually developed, you see the much bigger ones on the Stug and the Panzer IV, they're actually developed to stop Soviet anti-tank rifles, which could damage the wheels and could go through the sides of those earlier vehicles. Tiger doesn't need skirts to cover its side because it's got all-round protection.
But so as I say, you've got a straight set, and then you've got some that have been dinged up.
Yes.
Because
these would catch on hedgerows and stuff, and it would literally just tear off or fold over, because it's not armour, it's just thin plate.
Possibly got in the way of repairing the tracks.
Yeah. All right. Lovely kit. Makes a beautiful model.
Scary model.
A scary model. Now, if we get these again to look for comparison, we've got those American unit cards.
Where's my 76 Sherman? There we go.
Because the
Top Trump's time.
Tiger platoon, yes. So this is still sort of early, mid, late 40s. Before it's all gone to hell in a handbasket for the German army. So your Tigers have pretty universally got veteran crews. They didn't put new guys in Tigers. They put existing crews into Tigers because they were their best vehicle. And that means they get fantastic stats. They have a last stand rating of 2, they have a remount value of 2, and they have a scale of 3 up. Not just for tactics, but all round.
And they're careful 4+.
And they're careful 4+, sorry, yeah. Pretty much everything in this box, I think, is careful 4+. 2 Tigers cost 24 points, which was the same as how many Hellcats?
Hellcats, it's 4 Hellcats are only 15 points.
Yeah.
And 4 Shermans are 22 points.
Yeah. So two Tigers, loads of Hellcats, at least 4 Shermans. They cost a lot of points. But there's a reason for that. It's got a front armor of 9. So, and you add a dice to that 9, so you've got a minimum score of 10 from the front. So the standard Sherman cannot possibly penetrate at any range.
With a 10 net?
With a 10, it can glance if it rolls with a 10. If the Germans roll a 1 and the Shermans roll a... the Shermans don't roll. If the Germans roll a 1, it's a glancing hit which might upset the crew.
Yeah.
With a remount rating of 2, it won't.
Yes.
The crew will get back in. It might force them to bail out, but they will immediately get back in with that remount number. Side is also 8. And that's why you really need that. Yeah. So the M18s and the 76s then on a 12. So you glance on a 3. So only on a 4 up. On a 3 up, it's a bit safe. On a 4 up, it's completely safe.
So 50% per hit chance of penetrating.
Of penetrating before you make the firepower check. Yeah. So actually they can take it out from the front.
Yeah.
Now, in truth, I mean, half your shots are just misses by the fall of dice anyway, aren't they? And then half of those. But the Germans can't just throw the Tigers at these vehicles. They can't, because they will lose them with the number of shots that they're going to kick out. Some of them are going to land home and some of them are going to penetrate. The reverse, though, the Tiger's gun has got a 40-inch range and an anti-tank power of 14. And that means the German, at any range, cannot fail to penetrate any vehicle in the American box.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It definitely wants to stay halted with that 2 up, with that 2 shots rather than 1. And therefore, the veteran skill is going to matter, because you won't need to blitz, move, or shoot and scoot to get your shots in what you want.
Stormtrooper. And
the Stormtrooper rule, which all the German units get, or certainly up until the very end of the war, means it can make 2 different movement rules, movement orders in a turn. So it can blitz and it can shoot and scoot like by default, unlike most others.
And it is almost default with those skill ratings.
With those skill ratings, it passes that rule. Well, it's only a 3 up, but it does mean most of the time it is going to be able to pop up, take a shot, and maybe fall back into cover again, among other things. I like that, because it means the Germans do have to think about they can't just stick these in the middle of the board and just kill things. You can do that in the mid-war, because there's nothing that can take out the front armour. In this box, those things can take it out front armour. Some of the time.
Yeah, so we normally play on a 4x4 board. So the further you bring those forward, the more chance I'm going to have of getting you in the flank. Mm-hmm. And I've got 7 tanks doing that, 3 squads.
Yes.
So you can't cover. You can't put it in cover from three different sets of troops and still be able to fire some of them back. So
depends where the woodland is.
Yeah.
It depends where the woodland is, or where the hills are. Right. I think you definitely can. But the Tigers can't just they don't just dominate. They dominate where they shoot at, but they can be taken out. The long range firing makes anti-tank even worse. So the Americans will want to close. Yeah. They will want to flank it. The fact that its side armour is still 8 means it's still strong in the side, but they can fairly comfortably go through the side, because when you're looking at 3s, it's starting to look a little bit better. So it's a nice balance. It's certainly the Tiger's a solid tank, but it's not indestructible at this point in the war. Yeah. If for any chance we missed saying, we've built all of these vehicles before between us. I think I've built everything. You've built most of the things in there.
I've built Tigers as well, because I've got dual forces. So,
So the infantry sprue is a little bit different. This sprue's been around for quite a long time. This has been Battlefront sort of starter set infantry sprue from the very earliest of days. And I don't think it even has... Yeah, 2012. 2012. Their kind of first foray. This sprue is the same infantry sprue that came in Hit the Beach, and it came in the starter sets from before that, going back to 2012. Because rather than being... Most of their infantry comes on sprue. You get an American infantry sprue, you get a German infantry sprue. This is mixed.
Yeah.
It's got a 2-platoon German company and of grenadiers and a single platoon of US paras spread across the 2 sprues, because that was the kind of the thing that they were in their very early days. That was the battle that they were playing. It was like a market garden type situation, or a D-Day parachute landing situation. So this sprue was it's not normally available outside of these boxes. Is what I'm saying. The infantry on it, I love it. I've had a few of these, so I've got entirely winter and the summer. I made a German winter infantry out of these by just painting the smocks white. In most cases, painting the helmets white. They probably, the ones in the tunic, I don't think the Germans ever made a white tunic, and there are a couple of guys in tunics on here. But it looks fine at a distance. They are late war German infantry. They've got MG42s. There's Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck on here. There's also, because of its lineage, so if you get this sprue and you're thinking, what the hell is this doing here? There's 2 British tank commanders, or is it just the one?
There's 2.
There's 2 British tank commanders there, and that's because the set when this was released with, it had Fireflies in it. Because that was, again, one of their very first plastic sprues, going way, way, way back. And there's a single German tank commander, I think, who looks more like a guy from a Stug rather than a guy from a Tiger. So I feel like the guy from a Tiger is going to have a peaked cap.
He is. There he is. Yeah.
Whereas he looks a bit more like a Stug guy. The US Paras, these are the only hard plastic US Paras that they do.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. I don't know what you...
They are. They're lovely. 1943 pattern, so D-Day, but they did still have this sort of like, some of them kept it later in the war.
Because the paratrooper uniform changes. A lot of the veterans preferred the original one.
Yeah.
I don't know why the changes were considered, especially like the later ones got like less pockets and things like that.
Yeah.
Isn't it? The things that the soldiers really care about is, I need more pockets, bro.
And also they went from the sort of like the brown
the
to
buff
the standard green
beige colour. Yeah.
The only comment I've ever got on these is the American 30 cal.
Right.
The 2 guys are moulded together.
Yep.
And they've got a plug base.
Yep.
If you're familiar with the Flames of War.
The Flames of War infantry base.
Everybody's got a round base that fits into a hole.
So they're basing, if you've not seen it, they've got dispersed holes across the base. And most of the base, I mean, there's probably like 5 or 6 patterns. What it means is when across your force, your troops look dispersed. But this particular infantry section, like you say, they've got that disc there so you can situate it. It's only going to go in certain positions.
But then the 2 guys are moulded together.
Yeah.
And then you've got the tripod.
Yeah.
And the left arm of the loader.
Yeah.
And then you've got the gun and the right arm of the firer. So it can get a little bit fiddly.
It can. I mean, I've built quite a few of these. I think it's more the small size because, again, they're keyed, even in 15mm. This arm has got a tiny little keying point on it, and it being injection moulded plastic, it is precise. It is in exactly the right place. There are parts to it, but I think the thing with this is that the American 30 cal, the Americans don't really have an LMG doctrine. They have a BAR doctrine, and when BAR is not a light machine gun, it's an automatic rifle. Gun nuts will tell you there is a difference. There's definitely a difference in the rate of fire of a BAR compared to like a Lewis gun or something, or a Bren. There is a difference,
and it's not a large magazine weapon either. So you know, it's not nowhere near like a Bren gun magazine of, I think it's 30 rounds.
Right.
I think this is only about 20 or 15 rounds. I'll stand to be corrected on that, but
yeah. So whereas they're 30 cals, they tend to use with tripods, which is why they need to make it different. There are bipod versions of it, but it's still used more like a sustained fire weapon or a support weapon rather than an in-squad weapon, and that is reflected on their sheets. So when you look at the stats, the German machine guns are baked into the firepower of the bases. The Americans have rifle stands and machine gun stands, and they are different in their quite different in their performance. You also end up with some figures left over here, if you recall, because it was put together, this set, when Flames of War had like exact squad numbers in the bases.
Yes.
So there are 5 whole versions of this base. So the idea is across several bases you had an exact squad. And so the numbers would be slightly different. So when you assemble this as it expects you here, you're going to have some leftover figures, which is great because usually in the lists when you add a couple of these, you can make another platoon. Not out of the one box, but if you get 2, you can make more than twice as much.
Yeah, so other points in here, you've got the Americans have got the 30 cal, they've got a 60mm mortar.
Yes.
There's a bazooka on there, love a bazooka.
Love a bazooka.
Green dice and a bazooka, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
And then the Germans they've got a Panzer Schreck.
Yes.
Panzer Faust, various bits. They've got the one we love is the MG34 and the guy kneeling down holding the...
Yeah, I mean, apparently they were trained to do it. There's quite a few photographs of it. So there's a kind of, when in assault, moving forward, so of a local fire support, the 2-man German LMG team, which has got the model in picture here, the guy in front will arch his back, hold the bipod steady, and it will fire the MG42 to the side of his head.
Yeah.
Just over the shoulder, the man providing the bracing point. That machine gun is reported as being extremely loud. Yes. And the idea of having the muzzle 2 inches from your ear, I just can't imagine anyone
with the rate of fire
doing that. Yeah. But apparently they did. I love the fact that it's depicted. Yeah. No one else did that.
No.
Because it's mad. It's like, can I not find something to rest this on rather than my mate Hans?
Yeah. No. The other bit to remember is the gun crew is on here as well for the...
Yes. The gun crew. Before we get to the gun crew, one of the things that I liked about this is the headquarters section on here. Again, in all the versions of the games, when we talk about these bases, you had more command elements of different types, and you had radio teams and things like that. And so those figures are still here even when you don't use it. So your standard command team these days is usually like an officer and 2 guys with SMGs, like an orderly and an NCO. But on here, you've actually got like a radio team and things like that on there, which again, you can't get them elsewhere. They're nice figures, and they just make your command bases a little bit more varied because there's a finite number of poses on the normal one. And these are not the same poses as the standard German Grenadiersbrew, but they are the same scale, so they do mix in quite well. They're certainly similar, but they're not exactly the same. And again, with the American, the paratroopers, these as hard plastic don't exist anywhere else.
On the reverse of them, underneath every figure, there is a code letter.
Yes.
So when you've got your starter leaflet, you get your base, and it tells you which 4 go on there.
Yeah.
So it might be an officer or an R for rifle.
Yep. MG for MG, R for rifle, etc. TC for tank commander. It's all there. Last thing is the gun crew.
Yeah.
For the Pack 40. Is it a Pack 40? I'm assuming it's a Pack 40. It is a 7.5 centimetre gun. Yeah, it doesn't tell you the pack number on this particular card.
So we've got on the gun crew, we've got the guy that's going to sit on the actual...
He sits astride the gun.
Trainer.
Yeah.
Then over here we've got the
two
NCO,
shell handlers.
Yeah, and then we've got the NCO kneeling down and pointing.
Yeah. And people in charge are always pointing in War Games figures. Yeah, absolutely. Shell handlers, guy surrounding, and then a gun captain. Yeah. Which again, I think for an earlier version of the game, one of the bases is notionally the commander.
Yes.
Because there is this idea of a unit leader. It doesn't really matter unless you try and disperse your forces massively, but you can make one of them look different by having a commander. And if you look at as we mentioned, the bases. So usually with these 6-hull bases, which are your artillery bases, you can see you've got these varied crew positions on there. And there's usually one that's a bit of an outlier near the front. So that's where you can stick the guy pointing and use him as a gun captain if you want to do that. You probably will find it tight to get all 4 guys on here, which is why it's nice that one of them is sat in the seat on the gun.
Yeah.
But I think he's not actually got a seat that he sits in. He's just kind of, isn't he? He's sitting on the leg.
Yeah, straddles one of the trails, yeah.
Straddles one of the trails. So that's those, and you are going to need to use the base plugs to fill in the others, the ones that you don't use. But a bit of dry fitting here is important before you glue the guys in position to make sure your gun is going to fit. It is a nice wide trail, so as long as you had a basic go of it, you should be okay.
Yeah. Well, your trend is that you glue the pieces in and then the gun's detachable, isn't it? You do.
For me, I like to be able to leave the guns on the table when they've been destroyed. But I think I'm making work for myself rather than gluing it in position, to be honest.
Another key point, the command base has 3 holes in it, and like the Panzer Shrek, the bazooka,
the 60mm mortar. The 2-man teams have got a little 2-man base. Yep.
The 60mm mortar goes on a standard base, actually.
Oh, does it?
It's part of the platoon.
It's part of the platoon.
Yeah.
Goes on the standard base. Okay. Last thing in here then to talk about is the Pack 40. This is mixed. I'm going to be honest. This is a beautiful gun, but the sprue gates are a little bit thick.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't broken one, but I thought I was going to pretty much every time I've taken one out. So again, I use side cutters. Now, fortunately, the gun itself, it's not under tension. It's not actually tagged at the end. I did get all of these pieces out. I've built at least 4, I think 8 of these. For my winter and summer armies. But because of the thickness of the sprue gate, there is the chance that you could damage the piece. But I think it's been designed well enough that you're not going to. It's the gun trails that are most worrying of all. And I would encourage you, I think I normally done them first so that they will loose when I was doing the other pieces. Just because of how tightly it's held in those positions.
Several of the sprue bars, they're recessed around actual moulding issues.
Yeah.
So to get actually to cut right in the base, you're probably better cutting them closer to the main sprue rather than to the gun train itself.
And then clean it up later.
And cleaning it up, yeah.
Yeah, you might be better. So what I'm saying is, where you would normally cut up against the model with your side cutters or with your blade, so that you haven't got any flash, it might well be safer to cut up against the sprue and then clean it up afterwards, just from it meaning you don't damage it or snap it, because you're not putting pressure on this weak part. Yeah. As I say, we're probably like over worrying about it, but I remember worrying about it, but I don't remember having broken one.
That's true. Yeah.
But of all of their kits, it being an older one, this is one of the things they've learned. Like you remember when we had the Hellcat just a moment ago, and I literally pushed it out.
Yeah.
You definitely couldn't do that with this. The sprue gates are a lot stronger than that. And actually, they don't need to be as strong as they are here, and there are consequences to that. But it makes a lovely looking gun. As I say, I've got a bunch of them. Built a bunch. You got some too?
I have some, yes, yeah. Nice range of...
So talking about the performance of the units, then we'll talk the 7.5cm tank gun. It's the same gun as you find, oh, no, maybe it's, what it's not telling you on here is, you know, the German guns, they all have L numbers.
Yeah.
So there's a 7.5 centimeter gun, L, whatever. That L number is the length of the barrel relative to the bore. So the bigger that number, the longer the barrel is, and the longer the rifle barrel is, the more accurate the shell is, and over distance, the more, and the less, the faster it's coming out because it's been under pressure for longer from the, you know, the gases that propel it. The longer it's been in the barrel, the faster it is, and the faster it is, the higher the ammo penetration. So this has got a 12 AP, which is the same as that American 76. And a 12 AP is on pretty much all circumstances going through. The Sherman was 7 on the front, so you could roll a 13 against the 12. So these guns are going to be an integral part of the Germans' defence against the American vehicles. These two guns are going to put out as many shots as the Tigers do, and are as dangerous to the Americans as the Tigers are.
Yeah, very much so. The thing to remember is, if you're not too, if you are new to the game, it has 2 shots as stationary. If you have to move the model to change the line of sight, then it goes down to 1. It
counts as moving if you have to pivot. Now you do have an arc of fire. I think it's 45 degrees from memory. But yeah, if you have to pivot, you're going to count as moving. It has the gun shield rule, which means it counts as bulletproof cover against things that matters. So you need to make a firepower check to hit it, unless it, not for bombardments, not for assaults, but it gives it quite a degree of protection in this game against small arms and machine guns.
Okay, so that's our infantry.
That was our infantry, our anti-tank guns. We looked at that. So we want to talk about how it compares to Hit the Beach.
Yeah, so
compared to Hit the Beach,
it's the same size box.
Same size box. Looks very similar. The infantry component is exactly the same. It's the same 2 sprues. So
and your 2 guns.
And the 2 guns, because they're all part of that infantry sprue. In this, the Germans get a couple of Panzer IVs. Maybe 3?
3 Panzer IVs.
3 Panzer IVs.
And I have 8 Shermans.
You get 8 Shermans. That's a very different game. The Panzer IVs and the Shermans are fairly comparable. Similar numbers. The German 7.5 centimeter is a good counter to those American tanks in that if the Americans are coming on and the guns are well sighted in a good position, the tanks don't knock out the anti-tank guns very well because it's long range firing HE from the tanks. It's not a particularly effective weapon. They'll lose plenty of tanks going in, and we've played that game.
Yeah, I was. We did the training how to play Flames of War, Hit the Beach. I was able to take out your Panzer III platoon.
Panzer
IV platoon.
Yep.
But I couldn't dig out the infantry, and the guns were. The guns kept me honest in my manoeuvring to try and, because I was trying to basically steamroller and machine gun down your infantry.
Yeah, yeah. And the Germans get a lot of infantry in this, and interestingly, so comparing it, the Germans get veteran infantry in this box, and they didn't get veteran infantry in the Hit the Beach, I don't think. So they're actually better than they were in that one. Infantry in Flames of War, if you've not played before, as long as it digs in and sits there, is really hard to kill.
Yeah.
And pretty much the only way of doing it, one is you've got to assault it successfully, which is quite hard if they're dug in and in good order. They'll shoot a lot of guys up on the way in, or artillery. And you don't get either of those in this. So it's an interesting one because that German infantry... Now, when infantry move and get shot at, they'll get gunned down. Machine gun armed vehicles will rip holes in them. But if they're in bulletproof cover, which is the shell hole they can dig for themselves, they're nearly impossible to remove with small arms. You need HE. So to fight these, the tanks need to get into a position where they can just shoot at the infantry for 3 or 4 turns, hoping to kill a few, or that 60mm mortar, just round after round, eventually will kill some of them because of the way HE works. But the vehicles, comparing the two, I like it.
Yeah.
I think, like, you have an 8 Shermans in the other one, which were vulnerable. And I felt the 3 Panzer IVs were largely useless because they were totally outclassed by the Americans. You had the 76mm armed Shermans, and there was only 3 of them versus 8.
Yeah.
So I kind of hid them when I played that game until there weren't so many American tanks left. This, I feel the Germans have a small number of important tanks and anti-tank guns, and that where they place their shots, there's a lot more to learn in the tactics. 1 for 1, yeah, my tanks are way better, but I've only got 2.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that the way this is going to play out is the game is largely decided by the vehicle fight, and then you learn how the infantry rules work.
Yeah.
And probably, I think the Americans on balance are going to win the vehicle fight, but then they've got to somehow deal with that German infantry, and if they just try and run up with their para-platoon and assault them, they're going to find that it doesn't work, that they need to suppress that infantry first. And so that's the thing to learn. And actually, just to be a bit niche about it, the scout cars might just be the solution. What's the range on the 50 cal and the firepower? So this little HQ card, the thing about infantry is rifles got a range of 16, rifles and baked-in machine guns. These 2 scout cars have got heavy machine guns, and that means they outrange enemy infantry. They're 20 rather than 16, and they've got a halted rate of fire of 3 and a firepower of 5 up. And that 5 up firepower is really important because that's the number you need to roll to beat somebody who's in cover. This game doesn't have a cover save. What it does is it forces a firepower check on the firing team, and that's about how explosive. Basically, the bigger the gun, the bigger the firepower number. This chucks out a lot of dice at 5 up.
Yeah,
a couple of these, and outranges the infantry. They're not at risk, and they may just be what you need late game. Just drive these guys up to one of those infantry. Now, if that infantry gets up and tries to attack these vehicles, it'll get gunned down by the machine guns. So this is potentially the kind of unit you want for that job.
Because even if I am shooting your infantry, are you going to waste those 4 firing opportunities on these when I've still got the big tanks?
Yeah, that's why I said late game.
I
don't think that, because it's the HQ and the way force morale works, I don't think you can expose this until later in the game. But I think there'd be some really interesting play with the Hellcats, which are really mobile, trying to get in the flanks of the Tigers. I think only 2 Tigers, they are going to die. The Tigers are going to die, and then there's going to be that second phase where the Americans have got to dig out that German infantry, and they might just have the tools to do it. It'll be interesting.
And just looking at the other ones again, is they've all got a 50 cal
machine gun
as well. So some of them got the 30 cal in the hull, and
but those. So I'm kind of assuming you're going to lose most of those vehicles trying to take on the tanks and anti-tank guns.
Not with the green dice.
Not with the green dice. As a set, though, I like it more because the 2 things is I think it's a more interesting game. I think the 2 Tigers rather than 3 Panzer IVs is a huge difference. But I think the Americans having different vehicles rather than 8 Shermans, you've got 9 vehicles rather than 8, and of 3 different types.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good change in terms of learning the game and seeing the interplay. And if you've never played Flames of War before and you like it, you definitely want a second box.
Yeah.
Well, the Americans definitely want a second box.
Yeah.
If you buy a second box, then you can pimp out your Panzer Grenadier platoons to max size and get the third platoon, so it's not completely weighted. Now that is a lot of infantry, especially for this game, but you do have a use for it. So you get that third platoon, which is in course force morale, and then you'll get another 2 7.5s, which you can then make a 4-gun battery here. The 2 Tigers, I'm not sure you'd take 4 Tigers, but at this point you might. So 4 Tigers is only 48 points. I'm saying only because in mid-war, when we mostly have played up to now, 1 Tiger is 48 points, and here it's 4. Tiger doesn't cost many more points than Panther. It might even be the same. So I think this whole doubling up on this whole thing, German side, it works and it's valuable. You just would build the infantry a little bit different, but it'd give you more options.
So if we doubled up on the Americans...
Yeah, double up on the American side. First off, you can take... Can you do anything with the scout cars? You can't.
Nothing with the scout cars.
So I'd put them to one side, build them as Greyhounds.
Yeah.
Probably.
Hellcats, I can take squads of 4.
Hellcats, you can take squads of 4. So that's just a straight doubling up. You go to 2 squads of 4.
15 points rather than 7 for 2.
It's more points efficient. Let me see the HQ card, because you could you have a third unit? Yes, you could. You could go for a third unit if you wanted to, a 2-3-3 or something like that. You probably want to go for 2 squads of 4.
So the Sherman 76s, you've got them in 3, 4s or 5s.
You could go up to 5, or
2 or 3.
You could go for another platoon. Yeah, on there. Fantastic. And then the rifle platoon, again, the rifle platoon is not integral to this.
Yeah.
So again, it's another support option. And what you probably find you have there, if you do that, is you actually have a parachute rifle company. You just don't have a card for it.
Yeah.
And actually, this M20 scout car, on here with your other 2 M20s, you can take the security section here. You don't have the card for it, but from memory, that security section is 2 M20s. It comes in a kit, in a box, which includes some Jeeps, but I think that's the Recon Patrol and the Greyhound.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on this. I might be wrong.
I can't remember.
But I think the M20, these M20s, they're basically escort vehicles, is what they're intended to be. More like policing, rear area, that kind of stuff. And you often find them as part of units like assault guns and so forth, tank destroyers. So you don't have a card for it, but it would still be a unit that fits within the force organisation, and it probably costs a point or 2.
Yeah. And
the force organisation is a bit weak in this force, so I don't think it's a bad idea to have a 1 or 2 point unit you could hide at the back somewhere. So 2 of these boxes, completely worthwhile.
Yes, very.
Very worthwhile. Which, when comparing 2 boxes, I think that it's really important. Because when they hit the beach, that second box was a lot less useful.
Yeah.
Because you already had 8 Shermans, and you didn't need more. You can use more Shermans, but you start running out of table space to put your Shermans on. They kind of get in each other's way. Taking the parachute up to a company rather than a platoon is about having a different force organisation. So although you can't do it from this box, if you're buying a second box, you're probably going to buy an army book. You get committed to the game then, and you get an army book or just a deck of cards for a particular army. You're going to have those different options. So I think it's a huge improvement.
I look forward to playing this.
Yeah.
And seeing how it pans out. Yeah. Because
it's going to be very different from at the beach.
Yeah.
There's 2 things I would say that could have been better. One is, in this old box, you got a little bit of scenery, didn't you, mate?
Yeah.
You got a little bit of scenery, and I think if you're going to do an introductory set for your game, a starter set for beginners, a bit of scenery is a really important thing to like anchor the time period, the situation. What was the scenery you got in that?
It's a V1 rocket on launch rail.
It is a V1 Doodlebug and a launch rail. To be fair, the launch ramp is quite small.
Yeah, it's not.
It couldn't launch in that distance. The launch ramp were quite big because they're mostly concrete, and there's some left in Holland because they're effort to dismantle.
But what I did is, for one of the ones I've got, I mounted it on an artillery base as though it's crashed into the ground.
Yeah.
And then there's several officers look around it, looking sort of like, what?
These are also the size of their objectives, which is a thing, which is why it's a good thing to mount bits of scenery on them to use an objective. So you've got a bit of scenery in the other one in the form of the V1 flying bomb. And the other thing, neither that one or this one has, I do believe, as well as a bit of scenery in a good starter set, I think you should have a playmat. Many people do not need a playmat to play a game because they've already got terrain or whatever or go to a shop. But if this is for total beginners, the 13, 14-year-old kids at my school do not have a playmat at all. If they find this, because I saw like Hit the Beach in toy shops. I was saying, it's for somebody who's never wargamed before, and I think it's fine for them, by the way, because they're quite accessible kits. It's a fairly accessible rule set. The paper playmat just, for me, really lifts it as an introductory product.
Yeah.
You know, on the scale, if you're saying you don't need a playmat, saying, well, if you've got a playmat, you've definitely got dice. And you've included dice.
Yeah.
But you've not included... I think you're more likely to need a playmat than you are to need 10 dice.
Yeah, because a reasonable playmat, you could have two-dimensional images of trees and buildings.
Yeah, and I think it just lifts it. I mean, I think they probably think their World of Tanks is more their kind of introductory game. It's a very, very different game. So those are the only two, and they're only minor negatives. To someone who has not played Flames of War before, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
because of the inclusion of the way that this can become 3 different armies. You can build this out and lean into the Hellcat side.
Yep.
You can build this out and lean into the paratrooper side. The Germans, the kind of only way to go is this is as much infantry as you're ever going to need. So I actually, if they Hit the Beach, I had more than 2 sets, but I built a winter German, which is why my winter Germans are like this, and they're not quite in the right uniform. You paint them white and it looks fine at a distance. But I like the fact that that's usable. To somebody who's already got, if you at home got Hit the Beach and you liked it, and you're wondering whether this is worth buying as well, if you only bought one Hit the Beach, I would say yes. Because there's going to be a completely different set of vehicles, and a second set of that infantry sprue is really valuable.
Yeah, and they'll sit well with the original models.
Sit very well with these.
Really looking forward to playing this version. Played the Hit the Beach.
Yeah. Yeah,
different tactics, but I love Flames of War. It's a fantastic system, nice and easy to pick up.
Yeah, it's that right blend between complex but not overburdensome, right?
Yeah.
You know, the interplay between tank and anti-tank is important, and the skills and so forth. And it's got some granularity without being really cumbersome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, have you got much that you'll need to paint up out of this set, Mike? Or you already actually got a lot of this stuff?
I don't have M20s. I've got M8s. That's the only thing that I don't have in this. Every version of the Sherman.
Yeah.
I actually thought when I first saw this, I thought they were easy 8s, but the A1s are still good.
Yeah. But, solid.
Yeah. So it's just some M20 scout cards is the only thing I'm missing out of this. But,
all right, so highly recommended from us for existing and new players. Really good expansion to the range. Thank you for watching.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you're enjoying our Flames of War content and considering getting one of the starter sets or starter armies, why don't you think about buying one from our online web store at modellingforadvantage.co.uk. Thank you.